Hello Nether Street. So, if you've clicked on this video, the highest probability is that you know about McCarthy and not the other guy. But the purpose of this series is to explore connections between authors and writers and poets separated by time and space, and see, better said, explore, because we won't be able to see, but we'll be able to explore the strands that connect them. Hi, I'm Stefan Baciu and you are watching Nether Strands. Cue the title intro. Back in, don't worry. Last year I was looking to buy somebody a book for a gift. And because that person was a guy, I decided on Cormac McCarthy. And although I ended up gifting that person Blood Meridian because it was the safe choice, safe-ish choice, the Romanian title of The Crossing, which I stumbled upon, stayed with me. It stayed with me because in Romanian it was translated as Marea Trecere, which translates back to English as The Great Crossing. And although Romanian translators do this with titles of books, movies, they always add either a subtitle or they changed it a bit or they changed it completely. Probably there are publishing reasons for that. I wouldn't know, marketing reasons. But Claudia Leteș, the translator of The Crossing in Romanian, definitely did a very intelligent choice because it was a callback to Lucian Blaga's poetry book, which was published exactly 7 decades earlier than The Crossing, which is called În Marea Trecere, which, the translation would be In the Great Transition. But I think that translating Mr. Blaga's poetry book as In the Great Crossing wouldn't be that far off. And before we go any further, I want to show you how I've seen these parallels. So, the book has a motto, and it says something like this: Stop this transition, O Lord. I know where there is no death, there is also no love. And yet I ask, stop, O Lord, the clock with which you measure our untethering. And if you've read The Crossing, you realize that Billy Barnum's quests, his 3 crossings, basically deal with stopping or keeping the things that come untethered together, or try to salvage something from this transition into nothingness that seems to pervade our universe. But and we're gonna go deeper in this series, but I'm just gonna say that at the heart of both works there is a sense of longing, a powerful feeling of longing for the past, for not necessarily the past, but I think for paradise, for a lost paradise. And you can find those in Pink Floyd's work, for example. Like they basically did 2 albums, both High Hopes and Wish You Were Here deal with that sense of longing. But before we go on, let me just explain for you what Nether Strands are to me. So, next sequence. Every work of art is bound to a strand, a single thread woven into the great fabric of human thought and feeling. Some strands shine brightly, already revealed by writers like Borges, but most are hidden, and some, when followed long enough, begin to cross in ways you've never expected. This is what I call the Nether Strands, those hidden connections between writers, ideas, and worlds that seem too far apart to touch, until they do. The Blaga-McCarthy connection is precisely one such strand. At first glance, They could not seem more different. One is rooted in Romanian myth and metaphysics, the other in the brutal landscapes of the American Southwest. Yet look closer, and you begin to see how they are bound by silence, by mystery, by a shared sense that the world is both more than it seems and far less forgiving than we would like to believe. In this series, I will follow those nether strands through the sacredness of nature, the meaning of crossing, the blind man who sees, the silences that speak louder than words. And at the end, perhaps we will see what ties them all together. Not an answer, but something deeper, something you feel in your bones when reading Blaga or McCarthy, even if you cannot name it. Lucian Blaga was born in 1895 in the quiet Transylvanian village of Lucham, then still part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He called his childhood a mute paradise, for he did not speak a word until the age of 4. That silence would follow him all his life and become his deepest fascination. The son of a priest, he studied theology in Sibiu, then philosophy in Vienna. He was heavily influenced by Nietzsche and Eastern mysticism alike. Over the years, he wore many titles: philosopher, poet, diplomat, playwright. In the 1930s, he served as Romania's cultural attaché in Warsaw, Prague, and later Bern, shaping his country's image abroad even as he penned some of his most profound work. When the communists came, they silenced him. They banned him from publishing, made him a librarian in Cluj, but even then he kept writing, although quietly, poems, philosophy, words that still echo today. He died in 1961, and they buried him in his home village, in the shadow of the same mountains that once kept his boyhood silence. Lucian Blaga remains one of Romania's most luminous minds, a thinker of mystery and metaphysics, who found the sublime in silence and the universal in the local. Cormac McCarthy was born in 1933 in Providence, Rhode Island. But it was Tennessee that raised him, that quiet and haunted South that would echo in his early work. His given name was Charles, but he changed it to Cormac after an Irish king. He said it sounded stronger and better fit the kind of writer he meant to become. Like Blaga, McCarthy lived a life of silence. But his was chosen. He shunned interviews, turned down awards, and walked away from the literary crowd. He lived in barns and motels. He was poor for decades, writing books that critics admired, but few readers touched. Where Blaga wore many hats, diplomat, philosopher, poet, McCarthy seemed to wear only one. But that one covered a mind just as restless as his Romanian counterpart, maybe more so. Between his novels, he wrote screenplays, he painted, he tinkered, he spent his later years at the Santa Fe Institute in deep conversation with physicists and mathematicians about the birth of language and the origins of matter. And in his later life, he became a devoted father. By looking at their biographies, at least from a bird's eye view as we've just did, these two men couldn't seem much more far apart, and for good reason. But their works, they resonate with each other. They're surprisingly similar, even though they never. I don't think that McCarthy ever knew about Blaga, and there's even less chances of Blaga knowing about McCarthy. But they both deal in their works with the power of silence, the power of mystery, nature as a sacred locus. They even have the same motif appearing predominantly in the Great Passage and the Crossing, namely the motif of the blind man. And they also have, maybe that's one of the reasons, they also have ties to Gnosticism. And we will be exploring this in this series. So be sure to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you for making it to the end of this video, and keep reading literature that lingers. And make sure to visit my Substack. I'll have some good stuff there. I'll have some readings from Blaga in English, so you'll know what I'll be saying and what his work is about. And I'll also be providing you with the not the transcript, but basically the written version of this series. For people who prefer reading it, and I'll also be providing some footnotes. So make sure to visit that. I'm Stefan Baciu, and I thank you very much for visiting Nether Strands.